Thank you so much for coming
Cheers,
here.
mate.
And thanks for having me on your radio show.
How
and
are
thanks all of you for emerging from what must be a very difficult time in your country to attend this event. I can only assume you're in great suffering, but now we have sanctuary. Now we have each other. We're here and we're free and we're together. Is this on Facebook Live? Is Nikki here? Is that Nikki?
No, it's nearly on Facebook Live.
It's nearly on it. God, you even sound like Joe.
Tell them how Bill Maher was.
Oh, I've just been on Bill Maher and I had a really tremendous time. I was a little bit worried about going on it, sort of live television, narcissism. That's me, the second part. But it went really, really well, actually. I had a tremendous time. I really, really enjoyed it. It was really, really brilliant fun. And I also enjoyed being with you earlier. We had a very intelligent discussion about addiction and its connotations more broadly. That's, in fact, what fascinates me. I'm interested in, bog standard addiction. That's what I suffer from. Substance dependency, addiction in all of its forms. If you take away one aspect of addiction, I'll merely morph and attach to something else, like some greedy phantom. But what I'm interested in is how this condition exists in less pronounced and less extreme forms, and how it exists, as I say, the ubiquity of addiction, particularly the ubiquity of addiction in a system that relies upon dependency on external phenomena to motivate itself, e.g. consumer capitalism, which, unless I'm very much mistaken, is what we're living in now.
And we got into a conversation about happiness and happiness being something that can be sold. Remember
Yes.
that?
You liked that, didn't you?
Yeah,
I remember
did like
saying
that.
I
I did like that because I think we've got all kinds of shitty ideas about happiness here.
How it went, right, Dr.
Yeah.
Drew, as I recall, was that you goes, you said it was ludicrous that it was in the Constitution, the right to pursue happiness. And I goes, I think that happiness it actually should be a constitutional right. And then you said, but what is happiness? And I said, I don't mean pleasure. I mean happiness,
Right.
wholeness, contentment.
Right.
And he said, what is the difference, Dr. Drew did, between happiness and pleasure? And I said, well, the difference is that you can be sold pleasure. You can't be sold happiness.
Right.
Pleasure is a commodity. Pleasure can be stimulated. Pleasure is a car. Pleasure is your shoes. Pleasure is alcohol and drugs. Pleasure can be commodified. Happiness is innate, is inherent. It's within you already. No one owns it. No one can sell it to you. And this is where I think that addiction becomes a decoding device for something that is quintessentially wrong with our time. We have been turned from citizens into consumers, and addiction is merely the amplification of this phenomena. The addicts are the outliers of something that is ubiquitous. Consumerism.
And to be fair, the addicts are very sensitive.
Thank you.
They're the barometers.
I hear an applause like that. I'm trained to hear applause.
Your friends over there.
It's nice that we've been put on a magic carpet, isn't it? A whole
nice.
new world, don't you dare close your eyes. A whole exciting point of view. Tell me, princess. You be the princess. I want to be Aladdin in this. Who wants to be that wicked monkey? There's always a wicked monkey.
Am I the wicked monkey today?
No way, you're the princess.
Okay, I'm Jasper.
You're bloody buff, aren't you? I know it's performing on your radio show. I thought, what a lovely, buff, older man. I mean, looking...
Can't you just stop overhead? What a lovely buff man.
I mean, your biceps. I thought I was
I saw
almost
you looking.
aroused.
You actually made me uncomfortable. I put my shirt back on.
Sorry about that.
So let me just put a little finer point on the happiness versus pleasure thing. What I said was that I feel very strongly that we're confused about happiness in this country, and we're interested in pleasure and what's called hedonic happiness, as opposed to what really makes us fulfill, which is eudaimonic happiness, which is invested deeply in service.
You better explain that as it comes out of Aristotle. Don't
Yeah.
just expect everyone else.
Yeah.
I didn't even know this morning.
Aristotle had this idea about the purpose of human existence is something called eudaimonia. And people have argued about how it should be translated. It was originally translated as happiness, but in recent years it's been translated as flourishing. And so flourishing is really thought to be the reason for human existence. Well, what is flourishing? Well, it's not heroin, it's not cocaine, it's not new boots. That will give you pleasure. That's a certain kind of happiness. but it's very fleeting. It needs more all the time. It's very addictive, as opposed to eudaimonic happiness, which is what recovery is about, which is about being whole and regulated, and really ultimately they find that being of service to others, being present with others, much like we were talking about earlier, service to others is how you find eudaimonic happiness.
It's nice, isn't it? We learned a bit of bloody Greek.
Well, I'll give you more Greek. So you like this. What it was that what Aristotle also
And there's a little Greek cup here.
It's true. It's our pleasure.
It's a sign, I tells you. Synchronicity. The Lord.
But to be actually achieving eudaimonia, you have to have some skills. He called that technique. You had to have some wisdom. He called that phronesis. And so you had to have some capacity, something you train to do to make the difference, to really contribute in a way that would make you eudaimonically whole. Now you talk.
You've got it, baby.
Yeah.
Right. What do you want to know? I'll tell you anything. I'm here for you. I trust the moment entirely. I'm ready to live.
Lots of questions. Here we go.
To demonstrate what I believe in.
Russell, before you go,
Yes,
I
sir.
read them your brief versions of the 12-step, which I loved.
Did ya? Did they go over well with our fellow humans?
They did. Particularly like the first 5 steps. Are you fucked?
Yep.
Could you not be fucked?
Yeah.
Are you on your own going to unfuck yourself?
No.
Write down all the things that are fucked up and then tell somebody trustworthy about it. Right?
Yeah, it's tricky, those 4 and 5. There's no way of getting around the admin. But I do like the admin of inventorying is a challenging thing. So, hello, darling.
Yeah. I'm going to leave you on the carpet.
We're not fucking chimpanzees, you soppy sod. Sit back down and relax.
All right, I will. Happily.
You've done a lovely bit at the beginning. This is just me connecting with them. I've not had a chance to connect with them.
Go nuts.
My fellow humans. Hello, humans. I love you. Hello. We're free. Finally, we're free at last. See, for me, the reason I wrote this book was because, I suppose I'd got to a point where I felt like I could finally trust myself. I got to the point where I finally understood that I didn't know nothing, but I was beginning to understand this program. I've unpicked my head so many times. When I started this thing, I was a smackhead and a crackhead, but I know that even before that, your great William Burroughs has said, I was looking for God. I was looking for connection, and when I couldn't find it, when I found myself in a culture that wasn't willing to serve that need for connection, that need for love, when it didn't have the language, and it still don't have the language, and it's getting worse, then I've got to have the opiates, I've got to have thrills, I've got to have distraction. Eventually, of course, as you know, if you are an addict or if you've ever loved an addict, that thing will take you to hell. It will deliver you unto the true darkness. But in a sense, that is a gift, because then you have to amend the problem. You have to address the problem. So I was willing to, forced to admit that I was powerless over addiction and that my life had become unmanageable. Or, as Dr. Drew very kindly iterated, I'm fucked, you know? Once you've admitted that, I think the germ is there. The potentiality for growth occurs in this moment of surrender. This is why I believe the idea of surrender or supplication is present in most, theology. Sorry for burping in the middle of, just before the word theology as well. There you go. That's Bayfos right there. That shows you the kind of scope we're operating on. Belching and using long words next to a Greek cup and an actual doctor with the most gorgeous biceps. The second step is hope, believing that it's possible for things to improve, believing that you do have the right to be happy, not pleasure, not these glorious boots or these ridiculous, fantastic trousers, but something deeper and more nourishing and transient and permanent, something beyond time and space, which we know are just our miserable interpretations of animalistic phenomena. There's no such thing as time and space when you have limitless time, limitless space. Our consciousness is grasping for the real truth, and I believe that within this program are the tools to access it without hallucinogens, without opiates, that you can find the truth, that it's yours already. This is the difference between happiness and pleasure. Pleasure can be sold to you. Happiness is already yours. It need only be awakened. And part of the process of awakening is unpicking yourself from the tapestry that they have woven between our freedom and their needs to treat us as consumers. So this is why I've begun to see addiction not as a curse, but as a blessing, as a calling, as an awakening, because I've got no choice. I have to get clean. I have to get free. And I feel that people that carry their songs quietly to their graves, lives of quiet desperation, them I want to awaken as well. I know I'm limited, you know what I mean? I know a word or six I can rant on. Look at me now, ranting, Doc. I'm ranting like mad. But like, I believe this thing works, and I think it will work for anybody who tries it. And like those of you that are addicts, you know that as well. Because the other thing I fucking learned from this program is that I'm no better than anybody else, but I'm also not worse than anybody else. There is a great liberty in that. There is a great freedom in that. That we don't need centralized power systems. We don't need hierarchies. We don't need iconic idols that control power and manipulate. Power needs to be as close to ordinary people as possible. And fuck knows we're all ordinary. I've drunk quite a lot of coffee, Dr. Drew.
You got a lot of coffee, right? Sure was just
Am I
coffee?
showing any of the obvious symptoms?
Let me just check your pupils. It's good. It's good. It's all right. But I mean, this is why I love his book. I mean, it's all in there. I mean, it doesn't quite come at you quite as furiously when you're reading it, but it's all there. And so I can just sit back. You can listen to this man, as far as I'm concerned, because were you surprised that you and I were as in agreement as we were this afternoon?
Yes.
Yeah.
I always, I suppose there is a prejudice among us that, you know, and from antithesis and from thesis and antithesis, we must find synthesis.
Yep.
You know, those of us that see the world more mechanically and scientifically, and people that feel things spiritually, we must learn the same language, you know. And I guess because you are an actual doctor, Dr. Drew, off the TV, off Loveline, Dr. Drew, I feel like, you'll know anatomically, you know, what is the chemistry of love, the biochemistry of love.
Yeah.
So, and of course you are a medical doctor, and, you know, I'm assuming not like me, just a sort of a jumped up smackhead with a point to prove and a book to sell. So, like, it is nice to find that we are in agreement when it comes to these, these fundamental truths. The 12-step program takes you from unconsciousness to consciousness, from unawake, in my case, I'm talking for myself here, to awakened. That I believe that we don't choose between having a program and not having a program. We choose between a conscious program and an unconscious program. If you're not working a conscious program, you're being worked by your unconscious program. The program of your childhood, the program of your conditioning, the program of your class, all these things clogging up my mind. When I realized I had a problem, that was the start. When I come to believe it could be better, that was some hope for me. When I knew I weren't going to solve my problems with my own fucked up head, because if the answer to my problems was in my head, I'd have fucking found it by now. So I was willing to accept help, both from people that were further down the path than me, and thank God there's many of them, and probably in this room there'll be people with more time than me that could have written their own book, and I hope they fucking well will, because I'm going to need help down the line. And then 4 and 5, the admin, the inescapable admin, the journey of discovery, the learning of your own personal myth. Who are the characters? What are your archetypes? What is going to be your journey, your story?
Now, early in a conversation with this group, they are asking about trauma. Do you want to? And I noticed that one of the areas that addicts connect on is around trauma. Do you want to talk about your early experiences at all?
Yes, I think that you're for those of us that are dealing with chemical dependency, it takes us a little while to get to the trauma and the shame. But trauma and shame are usually a part of most chemically dependent addicts' stories. And I imagine that perhaps trauma and shame are part of life, given that we don't live in a spiritual utopia. My personal experience of trauma and shame is just, ordinary biographic detail. Because I have the privilege of being in support groups, I know that there's people in this room that have much worse childhoods than me, people that had childhoods that weren't as bad as me, people that have got more time than me, people that have got less time than me. I'm somewhere in the middle where I belong, in the collective, in the community. I suppose trauma is it takes you off your intended path. One thing I am absolutely certain about is that the accuracy of this word recovery is that you recover the person you were meant to be. That there is an intention on a biochemical, biological level, the same way as there would be with a tree. Barring negative incident and disease, the tree will flourish. It will become the thing it was intended to. But impediment, impairment, intoxication will prevent this. It will prevent the intended journey being experienced, but the program is a way of getting you back, you know, like undoing the trauma, undoing the shame.
Yep, it's great way of thinking about it.
Oh, thanks, Drew.
You're welcome. Other questions from you guys? Lots of hands up. Where is the microphone now? I get to see Ted's phone in his hand. That's how we know where he is. There you are.
Hi, Russell.
Hello.
I wonder.
You've got to say your name so as we know who you are, if that's
my
okay.
name is Katie.
Hello, Katie.
You just made my day. So
I haven't even started.
I have a problem sticking to things. I'll feel really good. I'll start something like yoga or exercise or a path that's actually going to help me. And within just a few days or a couple of weeks, even though I'm feeling so much better, I just fall off the wagon and go to all my old habits again. How do you find consistency?
And it begs the issue of change is hard.
Yes, change is really, really hard. Yeah. But it's also, may I say, quite simple. It is very beautiful that you have this intention. It is beautiful that you have this attention. Like, what I do, I'll just tell you how I work my program, mate, and you see if it resonates with you, Katie. Like, all the time, like for a long, long time, I knew I had a problem with drugs. I knew I had a problem with sex. I knew I had a problem with pornography. It's very, very difficult to wrest away these things that you are using to medicate yourself and make yourself feel better. My experience is unless you address the root causes of feeling inadequate, it's very difficult to exact change. Very important, therefore, I believe, to deal with these things with a good deal of self-compassion and self-love. It is noble that you are trying to change. There is something built in a 12-step philosophy that is vital in this instance, and this is the notion of keeping it in the day, one day at a time. There is no need in making a philosophically abstract commitment to, for the rest of my life, I will become a yogi, for the concept of the rest of your life does not exist in this moment. It is a fiction. Today we have today we have now. So if you make a commitment simply to, today, this is how I will eat. And I would say under the guidance of others, and this is how I will conduct yoga, conduct exercise, whatever your spiritual and life practice is. Once you've taken guidance on it, made a personal commitment, just try it for a day. And know that sometimes you're going to slip up and fail, because this is what we are. We are human beings. Try to belong to a community of people that have similar intentions to you, that will support you in this new endeavor, so that you don't feel like you're hooked into the mainframe of pessimism and negativity that wants to tell you you're not good enough, so you have to buy good enough from some shelf, from some store, from some code. Find your community and your connection among you, and give yourself a little bit of break if you fuck up. It's beautiful that you have the intention. Keep it in the day. I see that person next to you loves you, don't they? There you go. So that person will support you, and you have that communion and support of one another. I suppose that what I'm suggesting is that we build systems that connect us to the better aspects of our nature, not continually live in systems that are predicated on the negative aspects of our nature. Of course I'm greedy, of course I'm selfish, I'm an egomaniac. Look how long it's taken me to answer this fucking question. But I'm also very, very loving person. So if you put me in systems where the loving aspect of my nature is nurtured, that is what I become, and this is what I suggest you give to yourself because you deserve it.
He's right.
I'm sorry.
Right.
Did I do well there,
yeah,
Dr.
you did.
Drew?
Good job. Well done.
Where's my bloody love line?
Where's mine?
We'll create a love
do it
line
together,
between
yeah.
us.
That's right. Let's do it.
We could do, couldn't we?
We
'Cause you're a
could
proper
easily.
doctor and I'm like a shaman.
Transatlantic. But there are really two important things in what he said, which was that, have a connection with another person, that other person supporting you is really important, and then all those negative tapes about yourself, I'm the person that doesn't succeed, no.
Hi, Russell. My name is Jessica. I'm up in the top in the cheap seats.
I think they're all the same price, aren't they?
They're not.
We insisted on a communist strategy. Oh, come on, they love communism in America. Hello, mate, all right.
Hello. First, I wanted to say thank you for your books, particularly Revolution. I studied Princeton at Harvard and Princeton, and I tell everyone you're our best modern-day philosopher. So thank you for Revolution.
I'm getting away with it.
I have 3 young children, and I find myself lately crippled by anxiety between the earthquakes and the mass murders and the hurricanes. And I'm wondering if your book applies to the kind of anxiety that affects especially parents of young children. How can we be ensured that we'll be here for them tomorrow?
It would be dishonest of me to say that I can, in a position to answer you directly on the matter of young children, because my little baby, she's only 11 months old. I'm grappling on the foothills of fatherhood, and I can only imagine the pressure that you feel with the global and geopolitical issues you're talking about through the framing of loving that little, delicate, gorgeous, vicious, beautiful swine of a child. But this book was precisely constructed for a few things. One, so that people that are bog standard addicts like me would have a different type of language to talk about recovery and talk about God. But then the other intention was for people that hadn't reached the kind of rock bottoms that I have, and as I've already said, much worse than me already in this room, one senses, could have access to the magic of the program. Anxiety, fear in 3 syllables, fear. And fear is a huge part of any addict's makeup. Any addict will tell you that it's a governing principle. I am dominated by fear. Fear lurks and looms in me. If I'm not careful, the fear, it washes me away. See, and what I feel is important for me to express, and like I make explicit in the book, is that I am not better than you. I know I'm vain and narcissistic and these trousers look great, but what I mean is that I'm a fuck up, I'm not Eckhart fucking Tolle. Like you listen to that guy and you think, oh my God, he's pure consciousness, you know what I mean? I went, check it. He made the mistake of giving me his phone number once. I treated him like my own personal suicide hotline. Eckhart! It's happening again! I'm nervous! What is it this time, Russell? It is very late. You said there's no such thing as time. You said there's only the moment. I go to him like, my relationship, it's not I love this woman, I don't know if it's going to work, He goes, well, perhaps the relationship will work. Maybe you will get married, and then both of you will die. Well, thank you, sorry for waking you up. He's enlightened, isn't he? It sounds like to me that he's enlightened. Like me, I'm still fucking around out here, I'm still crazy. So but what I believe is if I'm around other people that have the same aspirations as me, that are part monkey, part divine, that collectively we can come together and do things a little bit better. God, I can understand you must be fucking terrified bringing up that kid. I would say, this is how I deal with stuff like that. I think, what is it that I have got that I can contribute for the benefit of my baby, myself, this audience, Dr. Drew, and I try to continually tune myself into this. And let me tell you this, I am not an isolationist, I'm not a quietist, I don't think we meekly shuffle off into the good night. I feel that a time for blazing and awakening is upon us. So the fear is an interesting spur for action. Fear is a signal, change is coming. So don't be afraid, but recognize that fear is an impulse that's asking you to take an action. And the action in this case is find what you can do and do something about it. Don't lurk too long in your anxiety. And whilst I say this to you, it's easy to say it. When I'm doing it myself, because I feel frightened all the time, I ask some other motherfucker to help me.
Yeah.
This is what I suggest.
Right.
Sorry for the swearing.
And so there are armies of people that can help you. It really depends how relevant this is becoming. If it's interfering your ability to be available to your kids, and I would look into that for sure. Not a physician, a psychologist. You don't want medication. You want some support.
Next question, your left in the back.
Hi, Russell. Hi, Dr. Drew.
Who does the geography announcement? It's Ted. Ted from Backstage.
Ted does. I've been encouraging him to be equitable.
He really is. But of course, the people are seated randomly already.
Yeah.
So in a way, it wouldn't matter if we just chose 20 people from there. It's still random, isn't it? Randomness occurs on its own. That's its job.
This doesn't seem fair.
Doesn't seem fair, but
You're
seems
right.
is not is.
Okay.
My name's Jenny, and I have a question.
Yes, but I do all that. No, go on. What is it, mate? What's your name? Sorry, I was talking about ontology at an important time.
My name's Jenny.
Jenny, all right, mate.
Hey, Jenny, before you start, do you mind if I stand up too? Is that all right?
No, yeah, sorry. I made my point.
All right, I just need to stretch my legs. Go ahead.
My question is, I know a recovering addict, and they are trying to decide if they should do 12 steps or rehab.
All right, how long you been clean?
Not me. It's a family member.
Wait, say that
What
again?
the fuck is the family member? That's
My
the first
brother.
problem is they ain't here.
What did you say?
My brother is trying to determine the best route in terms of recovery, and he doesn't know if he should do rehab or a 12-step.
Boy, those are apples and oranges a little bit. I mean, he absolutely, humbly should be involved in 12-step, but he also may need primary treatment. It depends how severe, what the drug is, does he need medical detox, what concomitant issues there are. So, I mean, if you want, one thing I tell people sometimes is go to a meeting. Just go show up and see what the people there tell you, because they'll tell you if you're not stable enough for a meeting, they'll just go, hey, we know this program that's good.
Where is he? Now.
Right here.
Oh.
Right.
So, we're going to do an intervention?
Give him the microphone then.
Hello,
What's
hello.
the fucking problem, mate?
In your words, I am fucked.
In what variety of fucked? What particular chemical, out of curiosity?
Cocaine.
Ah, yeah, that'll get you.
Yeah, it's pretty fuck-worthy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
How much
usually-
you doing? Are you on it right now?
No, I'm not.
No, to be fair, it's
Nice.
usually not just cocaine, though, too. There's usually a couple other ones mixed in, right? Little alcohol.
No, not a drinker.
No alcohol?
I got over the phase of drinking
Oh, I
myself
got over
unconscious.
the alcohol. How about the pot?
Stop that too once the
Oh,
cocaine
okay,
started.
there was pot, there was alcohol. All right. Now we just have cocaine.
Listen, mate, I'll give you the therapeutic value of one addict talking to another. Do you want to stop taking cocaine?
Yes.
I don't believe him.
Well,
I don't know, I just
mate.
don't believe him.
Let me have a word with him, you.
Yeah.
If he gets to the stage where he needs some fucking methadone, I'll kick him in your direction. You want to stop? Why?
It is, like you said, drug me to the darkest of hell.
Do you believe it's possible for you to stop?
Yes.
Do you think you're going to be able to stop it on your own?
No, I've already tried, and
What happened?
I went to a darker spot in hell.
Oh dear, terrible, miserable failure there.
Yeah.
I reckon you're going to need real help. Now, like your sister there was saying, like, oh, should it be rehab or should it be 12-step? How long have you been doing it and how much you doing?
It's been a year, and it's been, we'll say, 3 to 4 grams a week,
Crack or intranasal?
intranasal.
Because that bicarbonated soda, if nothing else, it means a lengthier prison sentence.
That is correct.
Seems a bit cruel. For a bit of bicarbonated soda,
Yeah.
it's not illegal on its own.
Yeah.
It's quite nice. For cakes, I think, isn't it? Even. Oh well, look, I'll just tell you my personal experience, mate. Like, when I first got clean, what I thought was, what happened to me was I went away into treatment, and I went away for 3 months, and I sort of needed it a bit, if not just for the therapeutic expertise of the people that were treating me and the access to counsellors that I wouldn't otherwise have met. It broke the sort of rhythm of my life. It broke
Sometimes
the
you just need
métier
to
of
be
my
in a
life.
place. You just need to be in 4 walls for a while.
Yeah, and it helped me. It helped me to understand. I don't know, mate, but me, I see my own life mythically. Don't misread me. What I'm saying is that I try to look for patterns and symbols, and something needed to happen. Crisis needed to happen. And I reckon in your, my intuition, and based on the fact that it was your sister that first had to bloody ask the question, I feel that possibly a little bit of time away might be beneficial, but as they say, as we say in 12-step fellowships, nobody stays clean as a result of a treatment centre. Probably everyone here knows people that have been in and out of loads of them. So for me, it provided me with a good basis. In fact, a fucking good basis, because that, like, when I got clean in a treatment centre 14 and a half years ago, and I went in there thinking, I'll just do enough to get my career on track. Never actually happened. I'll just do enough to get my career on track, and then I'll go back because I like drugs, man. I like drugs a lot. But something happened to me while I was in there. I sort of realised it wasn't necessary and it wasn't working. So I feel like
It's like you wake up.
stick him in a little bit of jail time for him, I reckon, Doctor.
a lot of
Are we
people-
able to enforce this?
No, I wouldn't do that. But a lot of people find sobriety.
We could.
You could. I'm not going to do that to him. Enjoy.
Let's drag
This guy's
him
a
off.
narc. I didn't know that about Russell, but he's a narc.
Oh no, not prison. I mean the imposition of external power.
Oh
you know,
yeah,
dragging him
of course. But yeah, my sense is, and I have to deal with this stuff a lot, is that he's actually in a state. You might appreciate this. Where he can't trust himself. He says he wants to get sober. He doesn't even. He's overtaken by this disease. So even though he wants to, he doesn't know if tomorrow he's going to be sober or using it or not. It's so powerful. That's why I say I don't believe you. It's because your disease is in you and it's talking. It's talking to you all the time. And he's right. If you go into a place where you can't use, that it quiets it all down, and you come back into control of your own body, literally, with a little bit of time.
Can you
and then
afford
you have to do
treatment?
something to make sure it doesn't come back.
Can you afford treatment? It ain't cheap.
So somebody would take you right now if you want. They'll talk to you afterwards. So there, you can hook up. Maybe you can run over there, give them your numbers and things, and
I'll do it.
okay. But thank you for looking. If nothing else, the courage to stand up in a room and talk about this is, just praiseworthy. So good for you, man. I hope it works out.
Stand up.
Hello, Russell, Dr. Drew. I'm Paloma, I'm an addict. I've been
Hello.
clean just for today for 9 years.
Wow.
I'm from Brazil. I've been cocaine free for 9 years.
Great.
I moved out here 5 years ago. I was married to an American, and my daughter was born. I got pregnant on my second day here, of course. And then,
What were you doing on the first day?
no, the first day
Using a
I ate
condom.
some tacos. So I still feel very divided as far as culture, and I have a green card, but sometimes I feel like very divided. And I'd like to know your suggestion. Would you be my sponsor? I'm just kidding. Yeah.
No, he would not be. You need a female sponsor.
Yeah.
I will not. I'll get in the way of that. I'm sorry. But you got to have a same-sex sponsor. So.
Yeah, my ego my personality very fragmented, and I still feel this way, even though I go to the rooms and I have a sponsor.
What's your question, mate?
How do you deal with the division? Like, have you found yourself this way in your recovery at some point?
The division between what and what?
You, yourself, and your ego, trying to find ways, because my ego knows me very well. So I've been fearful.
Well, if you're asking me what is you feel what divided, conflicted at 10
Yes.
years of recovery?
Yeah.
Conflicted between what and what?
Between me as a person in this country and me as a Brazilian and as an addict in recovery, and sometimes I just wanting to be whole again,
So, what is the question? Is it to do with sort of your national identity and your geographic situation, or is it to do with addiction?
If you ever felt this way in your recovery,
Did you feel alienated in different countries in the rooms?
I fucking feel alienated with one person. I feel alienated on my own. I mean, I don't know what the impact is of the current political climate on people that are from Latin America and living in this country, but from what I'm watching on the TV, I can imagine it could be a bit fucking antagonistic. But I'd be surprised and upset if I thought that in recovery communities that are by definition non-judgmental of nation, gender, sexual orientation or creed, if that was not considered a safe place for any person of any background.
Well, let me ask a question that I think maybe. Are you on any medication?
yes,
I
I
think
am.
that's what's going on here.
Paroxetine 20
understand?
What,
milligrams.
psych meds?
Yeah.
Well, my personal opinion is that that's a medical matter, and we have no
and
opinion
my fear
on
is,
outside issues.
Well, but my fear is you're on some addictive meds like Klonopin or something like that, and that's what makes it very difficult or impossible to engage in the program of recovery. That's what I hear.
That?
It's the drug that the shooter in Las Vegas was taking. Relative of that, it's a benzodiazepine. It's the hidden epidemic in this country. People are being prescribed those medicines hand over fist, and you can't get sober on those meds. It keeps your disease active.
What is the explicit reason for its prescription?
Sleep, anxiety. I mean, I'm fearful that our mother up here would get prescribed that. That's why I was sort of, What? You're on it?
No, I haven't opened the bottle, but they did just give it to me.
Yeah, let me give a little sidebar. Every prescription opioid death in this country includes a prescription of a benzodiazepine. It is the hidden epidemic. It is a really big problem. And I feel like, I don't know, and I don't mean to, I'm not singling you out, but my feeling is, because people can't get fully engaged, they feel alienated from their peers, they can't get engaged in their program, and they don't understand why it's happening to them, because the doctor doesn't go, oh, by the way, this is an addictive medicine, and it can block your emotional systems. It's bad. It's a problem. And I'm anathema. I'm an evil person for saying that in the psychiatric community. They would say that I'm unenlightened, I don't understand how to take care of psychiatric patients, and I'm the same person that was vilified for saying when Heath Ledger died that we were going to see a tsunami of opiate deaths. I just found a footage of me and Larry King in 2002 or whatever it was going, this is the beginning, here it comes. And everyone just absolutely vilified me for that. But now we're in the middle of it. I'm here to tell you the same thing about the benzodiazepines. I have no reason to say it. I don't believe there is such a thing as a good drug and a bad drug, an evil drug and an angelic drug. There's just molecules and the human relationship with them and the consequences.
All right, next question.
Am I saying something you don't think makes sense?
I'm sorry.
I don't feel qualified.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Rinda, recovering alcoholic and addict. I just celebrated 25 years. This
Wow.
does happen.
Congratulations.
It's a good timing. My question is, I actually recently, a couple years ago, weaned myself with the doctor's approval off an antidepressant, and I did it with amino acid therapy. And I wanted to know, especially Dr. Drew, what you thought about that.
If we talk about it in great generalities, I don't want to give people, it's complicated, right? Pharmacotherapy is individualized. You need to be in good hands with somebody who really understands not just pharmacotherapy and is well-trained medically, but understands addiction. I have not seen good results from immunotherapy. You might have been able to taper off without it. I don't know. I don't want to undermine something that worked for you. I think it's just the 25 years sober, off meds sounds right to me, however you got there. So yeah, I don't have a strong opinion about it.
Next question. Hi, this is for Russell. This is Jordan. All right, mate. What you were talking about earlier about your intended path, and you need to flourish, like a tree, and basically, alcohol and hallucinogens narcotize, pun intended, or they just suppress, I guess, overall happiness is what you were talking about. Just basically to specify on your intended purpose. I have a close childhood friend, great upbringing, doesn't have any of the symptoms of, it's not in his lineage that he has alcoholism or anything, but totally normal kid on the outside and inside. But would it be to argue that this person, he's been abusing alcohol for the last 5 years, but he's been completely happy, it hasn't affected any relationships he's been in with his family, his friends, his girlfriends, none of that. So to me, it looks like he's just completely happy, and his happiness is actually from, it's like a door, like a door that was opened that he wasn't aware of. Basically, my question is, happiness is subjective. But as long as you're not ruthless and intended evil purposely with alcohol, do you think your intended purpose could be, or your intended path could be involved with alcohol?
I think, mate, that if someone's drinking and it's not problematic, that's sort of out of my jurisdiction, because I've known people that can smoke crack and be jolly good fun. Get up the next day and they're no trouble. Where I'm interested and where I feel like I'm qualified is if someone is drinking and it's making them unhappy and it's causing problems in their life and the life of other people. This is what resonates with me and my experience, and this is what this program is for. So, I don't have a moral or ethical position on people drinking, on people having sex, on people doing drugs, as a matter of fact. That's not where I come from. My position is about people being connected. And do I feel that drugs are possibly negative for most people that take them? Yeah, sort of probably, but that falls under the banner heading of sort of none of my business, really. I'm only interested in people that want help. That's sort of, that's just my particular path, and it's the path that I've been taught, the path that I've been given. So, like, your mate, if he's all right, he sounds like he's a lucky bloke. Because me, I get fucked up on a daily basis over, over chocolate. So.
Next question.
Okay, so how do you know when someone actually wants to stop? And then how do you deal with, the violence that comes from some of the drugs? Like, I was dating a guy, and he started doing meth, and about a month and a half in, it just turned to complete violence. And then it was always an excuse of, oh, someone else gave it to me and someone else did that and it's not my fault and, I didn't want to take it. Like, how do you suggest you deal with that?
Well, I would suggest that you've got two issues there. You've got someone who's got a crystal meth problem, and you've got someone who's got a codependency issue.
Yes.
And the person that's got the crystal meth problem is the bloke that you're talking about, and the person with the codependency issue is you. You're not qualified to deal with the crystal meth, but you are qualified to deal with a codependency. Me personally, if I find myself in a relationship with a person that is not beneficial, it is not loving, I don't give people very many opportunities to get in tune with what I would call higher frequencies. Somebody is treating you badly, particularly if violence, forget physical, even emotional or spiritual is an issue. For me, that is a very clear signal that you need to leave the situation.
Meth is a drug of violence, period. And it's a pernicious drug that sneaks up on people, and it creates a paranoid agitation where people are focused on family, friends, girlfriends, coworkers, neighbors, and they become aggressive and paranoid and violent toward those people. And they do not break until they've been in treatment. You have to get them out of that environment. It's very dangerous. Do not fuck around with this. This is no BS. Okay?
All right, next question up here on your right.
Hi, I'm Mo.
All right, Mo.
Hang on
How
a second.
are you?
So hang on a second, excuse me.
Sorry.
When we said no recording, we mean no recording. Please, thank you.
Russell and Dr. Drew, I have a 17-year-old son kind of going through this journey, and I just need to know what you would say, A, to your 17-year-old self dealing with dual diagnosis, trauma, and addiction, and to his mom about, hanging in there.
Oh, you poor thing, having a 17-year-old son. You're all sad, aren't you? It's terribly difficult. I wish that I had the opportunity to somehow deal with how I was when I was 17. I was a right little punk arsehole. It must be difficult for you, and I feel for you, because my mum, I know, went through a great deal of distress and pain because of my behaviour. I feel that even though this is a young person and possibly still technically a minor, there is something applicable. Part of what I'm interested in this book is behavioural forms of addiction, because once I was 1 or 2 years clean, behavioural addiction is what I'm dealing with, because after a year or so, I wasn't craving going out and scoring and using. What I was dealing with is the way I relate to other people, my own emotions, my own fears. Somebody as young as 17, even I was a drug addict when I was 17, I was a using drug addict. What I would say to myself, or perhaps more practically, him, because I can't talk to past me, little bloody idiot, but but your son there, Mo, what I would try and find out is what are what is here? Right, let's get him, the little bastard. Oh, look, he's so sweet. Come over here. He's a little darling. It's interesting, isn't it, Doc, how the codependency works? Like, it's always the poor codependent person has to do the question.
Yeah.
And then some little junkie comes slithering out of the dark. And here he is. Oh, you're all 17. Oh, darling, come here. Look at your poor mum. She's all upset. What drugs you taking?
Cocaine, Xanax, some other stuff too.
That's too many drugs for a child, isn't it? Little kids doing drugs. What's happening now? Well, do you want to stop?
I do. Just got out of rehab on Monday. So that's good.
Have you used since then?
I have not.
So I bet now you're a proper little bastard, aren't you? Now you've not even got drugs to calm him down. Oh, mate, well, that's fucking... Well, firstly, I think it's amazing that you're clean. It's amazing that your mum loves you so much. She's obviously fucking terrified, as she would be, I would be. What worries me when I meet a 17-year-old is I'm actually old enough to be his fucking father, Doctor. And in fact, there are some sort of biological resemblances. What were you doing 18 years ago? Were you making bad choices? Like this young man clearly is now. I mean, you're very charismatic. There's a possibility. Great hair. Well, all right, I can tell you what I'd say is, look, this is my guess, and I'm being silly because for me it's very important to be silly. There's enough darkness and sadness in the world. But let me tell you what, and the fact is, I'm in a position where I'm also obliged to be entertaining, and it's a very, very serious subject. I don't want to be too fucking glib about it. But like, if you're 17 and you're taking loads of drugs, my guess is that, some people take drugs because it's a right laugh. I had mates who took drugs because it was a right laugh. And some of them are okay, some of them fucked up and died, as a matter of fact. Me, though, I was taking lots of drugs because I felt worthless, I felt inadequate, I didn't feel as good as other people. When I went to bed at night, I still feel the fucking thing now, to tell you the truth. Worthlessness, loneliness, not good enough, disconnected. Like me, I wouldn't even be so, what do I want to say, presumptuous as to start analysing what your familial and social conditions here, and the fact that you're here with a mother and not a father. And I remember when I was 17, the sort of feeling of the lack of a male and the lack of maleness, inner and outer, and the sort of pain that I carried as a result of that. But what I sort of do know is that from 17 to 27, I took more and more drugs, and I went on a longer and longer journey, and it got fucking worse and worse, and I hurt more and more people, and I caused my mum more and more pain, caused a lot of people a lot more pain, and it got kind of a lot worse. I wouldn't change aspects of it. That was the journey I had to go on. But you have got access to this program now, in this moment. You have got the knowledge that drugs aren't working for you now, in this moment. If drugs worked, I'd still be fucking taking them, tell you the truth. You know what I mean? The reason I've not taken them now is it don't fucking work. It's a pretty practical reason, really. And then I was given this great gift that when I stopped taking drugs, I was given access to the thing I was looking for in the fucking first place. Connection, truth, authority that was benign, people that took me by the hand and loved me. Not the kind of authority I was used to as a kid, schools that didn't tell me the truth, people that weren't qualified to take care of me. So what I reckon, mate, what's your name again?
Joey.
Oh, look at Joey, you're such a little fucking sweetheart. What I reckon, Joey, is that even though you seem young and you think, I'm only 17, I could get fucking off it for years and years. I could be smoking rocks and blazing and banging up and smoking weed and causing all sorts of chaos. You have got a unique opportunity, but same as we were saying there, what was your name again, mate? Katie. It's a thing that you deal with one day at a time. It's a thing that you don't deal with alone. I say you get yourself involved in communities of drug addicts. I say, clean drug addicts, for fuck's sake, let me be clear. Already involved with the wrong type, isn't he? Because me, right, this is the thing that I want to be clear about. I can't stress this enough because I am a show-off. Now, when it comes to showing off, I am quite good at that. But when it comes to addiction, I ain't no different from anybody else. I ain't no different from you. How many days you got?
31.
Fucking amazing! If you can do it for 31 days, you can do it for, I've got 14 and a half years. You can do it for 14 and a half years. You just do the same things that you did today, tomorrow. You remain connected. You think about people that have got less time than you. You stay in touch with people that have got more time than you. You have a concept of a higher power. You read the literature. You attend support groups. the whole thing with your mother, we'll get to that down the line, mate. That could be complex. That could be Dr. Drew territory or possibly Dr. Freud territory. I'm mucking about, I'm having a laugh. But it seems to me, mate, it's really lovely that you came up here. I would say that once you've done treatment once, you're on the path. The pain don't ever really go, mate. But from the pain, you get this kind of connection. Like, for me, I wouldn't give up my pain now, because it means that I can talk to you in a way that I wouldn't be able to if I'd have been like the people that I so long admired and aspired to be like, the people that seemed chiseled and clean, the people that didn't seem buckled and broken like me. I wouldn't give up my wound now. I believe that it's the wound that we connect through, and as your dear Leonard Cohen, or is he Canadian, says, there is a crack in everything, it's how the light gets in. And we learn to love our cracks. Not that crack, Joey! We learn to love the imperfections. So, mate, it's a very, very simple business. That book may actually be of use to you. On its own, it's not a fuck enough. Attend some support groups. Do exactly what you were told. Don't try to be in control of your situation anymore. Accept benevolent, kind authority, because there is such a thing as that. Rant over. All right? You better do well, Joey, because if I read about something bad happening to you, it's going to really fuck up my speech.
You know, the other thing, we've had 2 codependents, and we haven't told them what to do yet. Right?
Yeah, you tell them. You can deal with the codependents.
Right.
I'll take the junkies.
I can't say it with the same intensity and poetry that you do, but you got to go to Alan. You got to work as hard as he does. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So you literally have to go to meetings every day. You got to go to Alan. You got to get a sponsor. You got to work steps. Same thing for our meth lady. Yeah, I know it's not your problem. I know it's not your thing. But the fact that you've chosen to be with that guy tells me all I need to know. You need to do this. It's very, very important. Before Russell came out here, we were talking a little about codependency and you know how delicate and difficult and challenging it is. It's a hard thing to recover from. You had a follow-on or something?
Hi, Russ, I'm Mel.
What, Mel?
Nate, I've been following you all over for many years.
Thanks.
I've got this too. Something you said on Colbert, and I just thought about it today. And in the program, you know, they'll say you're either going to wind up in prison or dead.
Or an institution. don't forget my work.
And with Colbert the other day, you were like, death is looming. And I just thought, accepting death is a big part of it, but I thought today, with all the violence in the culture, that we're all going to either love each other to death or we're going to hate each other to death. And as much as I just appreciate your open heart and your diligence and all of those things, and just that we all, I hope we all get to love each other to death.
That's lovely. Thanks very much, Ted. Like, I know what you're saying, but because like I talked about death on Colbert, but death is the imperative to love. Like, it's not the death, doom and gloom death, Mel. The reason that I mentioned death is because it provides context. It means that we're not just trundling through life limitlessly. Time is precious, the moment is precious, the connection is precious, so don't live in an illusion. That's sort of the implication. I start this book by talking about death to provide that functional, necessary, actual, practical boundary. The literal boundary that surrounds our life is it don't go on forever. You know, other than possibly limitless consciousness accessible through all kinds of spiritual technologies and hallucinogens. Who knows about that? More complicated stuff. The reason my talking about death isn't like, you know, it's not a Gothic doom and gloom. It's not in a black cape staring out way-faced. It's glory, joy, connection. We're here for such a short while. Don't engage with the illusion. Find the personal truth in yourself, because that is the point of access and connection by which you can live in a deeper, more beautiful reality. Like when I look at my little daughter, I think, oh, this person, she is perfect, she is beautiful. And then another voice goes, she is temporary, she is going to die. I don't like that thought, but it's true. More than that, please God, she will go on without me into a future that I will never see. An understanding of this reality reminds me of my function, of my role, to equip this human being with what they need emotionally in the world. So my talk of death is really my way of understanding and accepting my personal limitations. It's not a sort of a gory, Gothic, doom and gloom thing. It's we must be here now, we must love because of death. Thanks, Mel.
I want to say two quick things. Personally, thank you for writing the book. Thank you for sharing your recovery. And I certainly hope people are listening because you speak a language that is accurate and accessible, and I hope they listen. So thank you for being a...
Thanks, Dr. Drew.
Yeah.
Dr. Drew, thank you for all day long looking after me on your radio show, on your podcast, and now on a live show. And thank you for the great work you do for the people like me, fuck-up junkies. We need you. Thanks, mate.
You bet.